Scene 1. The village stirs as the first rays of dawn break over the horizon, spilling soft, golden light over the worn cobblestone streets. In the distance, the low hum of village life begins to rise as market vendors prepare their stalls and the scent of freshly baked bread wafts through the air, carried by a light breeze. The town square is quiet at first, save for the chirping of birds perched on the rooftops and the rustling of leaves in the trees. At the heart of this peaceful scene is Herman, the village baker. His shop is warm, the air thick with the aroma of his loaves, now cooling on the shelves. Herman is a jolly man, his round face always creased in a smile as he kneads dough, preparing for another day of baking. He hums quietly to himself, the rhythmic motion of his hands pulling at the dough a comfort to his well-worn hands. This morning, however, something feels different. A quiet tension hangs in the air. The village square, usually bustling with chatter and laughter, is oddly still. As the first loaf of bread is pulled from the oven, the soft crackle of the crust is drowned out by the sudden murmur of a small crowd gathering outside. The bakery door creaks open, and Constable Marcus, a stern-faced man with a furrowed brow, steps inside. "Good morning, Herman," he says, his voice low but carrying a note of uncertainty. "We need to talk." The door to the bakery swings shut behind Constable Marcus, and the faint hum of the outside world is replaced by a thick, uncomfortable silence. Herman, still holding the warm loaf, glances at the constable, puzzled. "What's wrong, Marcus?" "I've done nothing wrong, I swear. Just baking my bread." "You're being accused, Herman," Marcus replies, his eyes narrowing slightly as he watches the baker. "Accused of baking heavy bread." Herman's brow furrows in confusion. "Heavy bread? What do you mean? I've been baking this way for years." The constable steps closer, his eyes flicking to the large, golden-brown loaves cooling on the wooden shelves. "There's been talk, Herman. Talk from the villagers. They say your bread is too heavy. Too dense." Herman shakes his head, a chuckle escaping his lips. "That's ridiculous. The bread is as it should be. Fresh, soft, just as the recipe says." But Marcus doesn't smile. His face is set and he motions for Herman to hand over a loaf. With reluctance, Herman places one of the loaves into the constable's hands. Marcus weighs it gently, his expression unchanged. It is indeed heavier than it should be, far denser than the loaves baked in other villages. "Heavy bread," the constable repeats, his voice grave. "The village will not tolerate it." Herman's heart sinks as the weight of the accusation sinks in. He looks out the bakery window, seeing the crowd growing outside. Villagers whisper to one another, pointing at his shop. They are waiting. The town square is bathed in the soft light of dawn, but the usual hustle and bustle are replaced with an uncomfortable stillness. A small crowd has gathered, whispering among themselves. The townspeople stand just far enough away to avoid drawing too much attention, but their eyes are fixed on Herman and Constable Marcus as they emerge from the bakery. The murmurs grow louder as the baker's arrest becomes the subject of conversation. Herman feels the weight of the eyes upon him, but he can't quite understand why. His bread, though heavier than usual, was never a problem before. The villagers had always lined up for his loaves, praising the texture and warmth. "What's going on, Herman?" asks Anya, a fellow baker who lives just a few houses down. Her voice trembles slightly as she steps forward, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her apron. "I don't know, Anya," Herman replies, his tone heavy. "I've baked this bread for years. It's always been good. Why would they say it's too heavy?" Anya glances around, seeing the uncertain faces of the crowd. "Maybe it's time for a change. Or maybe someone wants to see you fall. The grain's been odd this year. Grain merchants been acting strange, haven't they?" Herman furrows his brow. "I don't understand. The grain is as it always was. It's the same supplier." Constable Marcus steps between them, his voice low but firm. "The accusations stand. You'll come with me." Without waiting for an answer, the constable begins to lead Herman away toward the town hall. The crowd parts slowly, some whispering, some muttering about the strange, heavy bread. Others simply watch in stunned silence. The Hall of Justice inside the town hall, the air is thick with tension. The room, dimly lit by flickering torches, smells of old wood and dust, a scent that lingers in the stone walls. The long wooden table, polished by years of use, is where the villagers come to hear the decisions of Judge Agnes, a woman known for her strictness and no-nonsense attitude. Herman stands before her, his hands still gripping the loaf of bread he had been carrying earlier. He is joined by Anya, who has followed him to ensure that no one accuses him unjustly. The villagers standing behind them wait for the trial to begin. Judge Agnes, sitting at the head of the table, watches Herman closely. Her face, usually kind, is now etched with deep lines of concern. The charge against Herman is odd, she thinks. Heavy bread? It doesn't make sense. Herman the baker, Judge Agnes begins, her voice steady and calm. You stand accused of baking bread that is too heavy. The town cannot afford to have bread that weighs down our people, literally and figuratively. Herman looks down at the loaf in his hands, confused. Your Honor, I've baked this way for years. My bread feeds the village. It nourishes the people. I understand that, Herman. The judge responds, her voice softening just a little. But something is wrong, and we must find out what it is. Anya steps forward, her voice trembling slightly but strong. Please, Judge Agnes, listen. Herman has never once sold bad bread. There's something else going on here. Maybe it's the grain. Maybe someone has been altering it. Judge Agnes raises an eyebrow. That is something we must investigate. But for now, Herman, you will not bake. Not until this mystery is solved. The evening falls over the village, and the warmth of the tavern spills into the cool air outside. Inside, the soft glow of candlelight flickers over the worn wooden tables, casting long shadows on the walls. The usual hum of lively chatter is now replaced with hushed whispers. News of Herman's arrest has spread quickly, and the villagers are concerned. At a corner table, Anya sits with Jacob, the village herbalist, who is known for his quiet wisdom and cryptic way of speaking. He's stirring a mug of hot tea, the steam rising lazily in the cool night air. His deep-set eyes scan the room, as if waiting for someone to speak. Jacob, Anya says softly, what do you think of all this? The heavy bread? What could it mean? Jacob leans forward, his voice low and steady. Ah, Anya, heavy bread. It's not just about flour and yeast. There's a deeper mystery here. It's a burden that goes beyond the grains. Anya looks puzzled. But what could it be? Why would someone want to ruin the bakers like this? Jacob smiles faintly, his eyes glinting with something hidden. Some say the bread weighs heavy because there's too much greed in the grain. Others believe it's a curse, perhaps one that's been forgotten, or one that's been deliberately placed. Anya shakes her head, disbelief clouding her thoughts. A curse? That's ridiculous. We're not in the days of magic anymore. Jacob sips his tea, his gaze far off. A curse can come in many forms, child. Not all curses are seen in shadows. Some are whispered through the winds, carried by the grains themselves. Before Anya can respond, a low murmur rises from another table. A villager has overheard their conversation, and now more are gathering, exchanging theories, anxiously waiting for answers. The next day, the village is quieter than usual. No one has seen Herman since his arrest, and the bakery is locked up tight. But curiosity draws Anya back to the familiar building, the sweet scent of flour still faintly lingering in the air. Anya unlocks the door with a key she's kept for years. She steps into the bakery, her feet making soft thuds against the wooden floorboards. The shelves of bread are empty, save for a few stray crumbs. The usually warm, inviting space feels cold now, and the silence is oppressive. She moves to the back room where Herman always stored his recipes. The air smells of old flour and wood, the faint scent of yeast clinging to the walls. As she walks in, her eyes fall upon the counter where Herman would always roll out dough, preparing it with expert hands. Anya's fingers trace over the counter, stopping when she finds an old recipe book that had been left half open. She picks it up carefully, her breath catching in her throat. The pages are brittle, but she can still make out some of the recipes. The most recent page, however, is filled with strange symbols and measurements. There's a recipe for bread, but it seems different. Anya feels a chill run down her spine as she reads the notes scribbled beside it. For heavier bread, use more of the dark grain. Her fingers tremble as she flips to the back of the book. The last page, ripped and frayed at the edges, contains instructions on how to alter the recipe to make the bread denser and more filling. But the handwriting, she realizes, is not Herman's. It's someone else's. Someone who knew exactly how to manipulate the flour. Who did this? She whispers to herself. She places the book down on the counter, the weight of the mystery now clear to her. Herman hadn't altered the recipe. Someone had tampered with it, creating the very problem that led to his arrest. The following day, a cool breeze stirs the leaves of the trees as Anya stands outside the bakery, her hands wrapped around the old recipe book she had found. The village feels still, as if waiting for something to happen. The constant chatter has died down and the villagers have begun to turn their attention elsewhere, but Anya can't shake the feeling that there's more to the mystery than meets the eye. Just as she's about to turn back inside the bakery, the creaking of wheels draws her attention. A cart approaches down the dirt road, drawn by 2 horses. Fletcher, the grain merchant, sits atop it, his face shaded by the wide brim of his hat. He's a man of few words, always polite but distant, at least, until now. Anya watches as Fletcher's cart rolls into the village square. The villagers seem to react as though they've been waiting for him, eyeing him with mixed expressions of suspicion and curiosity. Fletcher dismounts and begins unloading sacks of grain from his cart, his movements deliberate as though he knows exactly what is coming next. "You've returned, Fletcher," Anya calls out, walking toward him. Fletcher looks up with a faint smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "The harvest is bountiful this year. Thought I'd bring in a fresh load." Anya glances over the sacks of grain, then looks back at him. "Fresh grain, you say?" she asks, her voice laced with suspicion. "Tell me, Fletcher, do you remember the old recipe book? The one you sold to Herman?" Fletcher freezes for a moment, his expression shifting. He clears his throat and responds, his voice steady but with a subtle edge. "I sold no such thing. And if you're suggesting something is wrong with the bread, well, you might want to look elsewhere." Anya's gaze sharpens. "I found a recipe book in the bakery yesterday. It was altered, Fletcher. And now the bread weighs too much. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm asking you, where did you get the grain?" The tension between them hangs in the air, palpable and thick. Fletcher's eyes dart away for a moment before he speaks again. "The grain is just grain, Anya. It's fine. You have your suspicions and I have my business. I suggest you keep to your bakery." But Anya, holding the recipe book tightly in her hands, isn't done yet. There's something about Fletcher's guarded words that doesn't sit right with her. The grain he's brought could hold the key to the mystery. Someone is behind the sabotaging of the bread, and that someone may be standing right in front of her. As night falls, the town hall becomes the center of attention once more. The village has gathered and an air of anticipation stirs the room. The low hum of conversations fills the hall, but there's no warmth to the chatter. The murmurs are sharp, distrustful. At the center of it all is Anya, her mind racing with everything she's discovered. The village seer, Miriam, had sent word earlier that she wanted to speak. Anya is unsure what Miriam has to offer, but if anyone knows about the deeper mysteries of the village, it's her. The seer is seated near the front of the hall, her long, gray robes brushing the stone floor. Her face is calm, her eyes distant, as though she is seeing something beyond the present. The room quiets as Judge Agnes steps forward, her usual stern expression softened by the evening's events. "We are here tonight to discuss the accusation of heavy bread and the arrests of our bakers," she begins. "But it seems there is more to this than meets the eye." "Anya?" Anya steps forward, the recipe book still in her hands. The crowd goes silent. She can feel the weight of their eyes, their curiosity, and their suspicions. "I found something," she says, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "The bread, its weight, wasn't the baker's fault. The grain was altered. Someone deliberately changed the recipe, and I believe it has something to do with Fletcher's grain." The room buzzes with whispers. Judge Agnes motions for silence, her eyes narrowing as she considers the claim. "Fletcher," she calls, her voice firm. "What do you have to say about this?" Fletcher steps forward, but his face betrays little emotion. "I have nothing to do with it," he says flatly. "The grain is fine and the bread is heavy because the bakers can't bake properly. I am not to blame." Miriam's voice cuts through the murmurs. "You are wrong, Fletcher," she says, her words slow and deliberate. "The curse of the bread has been in the making for many years. But it is not the bakers who are at fault. It is the grain, altered by those who have forgotten the old ways." The room falls into a stunned silence, and Miriam continues. "The village once thrived on trust, but someone has broken that trust. The bread is heavy because the burden of greed has been placed upon it." Anya turns to Fletcher, her eyes searching his face. "What do you know about this curse, Fletcher? What have you done to the grain?" Fletcher's eyes flicker with something hidden, something darker than simple denial. "I've done what I had to do to keep the village in line," he mutters, barely audible. The crowd watches in shock as the reality begins to settle in. Fletcher is at the heart of it all, and the truth of the heavy bread is tied to his actions. The village's food, its very life source, has been manipulated for profit. The room in the town hall is thick with silence as everyone turns to Fletcher. His words hang in the air, heavy with implication. The villagers are stunned, eyes darting between him and the quiet, steely Judge Agnes. Anya stands frozen for a moment, her hands still clutching the old recipe book. She takes a slow breath and speaks again. Fletcher, she says, her voice steady but filled with a quiet intensity. You've been altering the grain for months, haven't you? It's not just about the bread. You've been playing with the entire village's food supply. Fletcher's expression hardens as his eyes meet hers. You don't know what you're talking about, Anya. The grain was meant to be stronger, better. The villagers never complained. I simply gave them what they needed. A little extra weight in the bread isn't going to hurt anyone. But his words lack conviction, and Miriam, the village seer, steps forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Don't pretend, Fletcher, she says softly. The heavy bread is more than just a simple mistake. It's a sign, a curse that's been brought upon us by greed, and you are the one who brought it. Fletcher's face twitches, but he says nothing. Anya steps closer to the judge's podium, her gaze fixed on Fletcher. I found the recipe book, Fletcher, and in it your name was written in the margins. You altered the ingredients. You created the curse. And now it's our village that's suffering. Judge Agnes looks at Fletcher, her face unreadable. She stands up slowly and gestures for quiet, her hand resting on the gavel. Fletcher, you've been deceiving the people. The bread weighs more than it should. The village is at the brink of distrust, and you have been manipulating the grain. Fletcher lowers his eyes, and for a moment his mask of confidence slips away. I did it for the village, he mutters under his breath almost to himself. I did it because they needed me. The bread needed to be better, but they never understood. I thought it would make everything easier. The room grows still again, the weight of Fletcher's confession settling over the villagers. The judgment is inevitable now, and the crowd watches as Judge Agnes prepares to pass her verdict. Anya's heart races as she watches the man she once trusted crumble under the truth. She had never thought Fletcher capable of deceit, but the events over the past few days have shown a darker side to him, one fueled by ambition, greed, and desperation to control the grain supply. But even as the judgment looms, Anya feels a strange sense of relief. The truth has come out, and now it is time to make things right. Fletcher, Judge Agnes begins, her voice clear but firm. You have broken the trust of this village. The bread, the grain, everything that feeds us has been tainted by your greed. But what you've done can still be undone. The villagers shift uneasily. Anya feels her hands tighten around the recipe book once more, the key to returning peace to the village. The curse of heavy bread can only be broken if they restore the balance. And that balance lies in the grain, pure, untouched, and unaltered. I will have no part in this crime, Judge Agnes continues. You will leave this village, Fletcher, and never return. As for the bread, we will restore it, piece by piece. The villagers nod, a sense of unity slowly returning to their faces. The baker's bread can be light again, free from the weight of manipulation and deception. But it will take time to rebuild trust, time to heal. Anya steps forward, looking directly at Fletcher. You've broken the village's heart, Fletcher. But we will mend it. And we will bake again, the way we always did. Fletcher's eyes fall to the floor, his shoulders sagging. His empire of grain has crumbled, and there's nothing left for him here. Without a word, he turns and walks out of the hall, his departure marking the end of his control over the village's food. As the door shuts behind him, the room fills with a quiet sigh of relief. The village is safe again, and the curse of the heavy bread is slowly lifting. As the sun rises the next morning, a soft golden light pours into the village, casting long shadows across the cobbled streets. The air is fresh, crisp, and still, as if the land itself is taking a deep breath, ready to start anew. The village square is quiet, empty for the first time in days. But there's an unspoken promise in the air that today will be different. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for the village. The bakers gather outside Herman's bakery, which is now open once again. Anya stands by the doorway, her fingers nervously running over the edges of the recipe book. The loaf of bread she holds is slightly heavier than usual but has a golden, airy texture, a reminder of the careful adjustments made after the curse was revealed. The town square begins to fill with villagers, their eyes wide with curiosity and hope. Herman, Anya, and the other bakers take turns cutting slices of bread, offering it to the villagers who had once been suspicious of the heavy loaves. Now, as they taste the light, soft bread, they realize that the true essence of baking had been returned. Is it lighter? A villager asks, holding up a slice with a puzzled look on his face. Anya nods, her face glowing with relief. Yes. It's light again. The bread has been freed. The crowd begins to cheer softly and the feeling of peace returns to the square. The tension from the past days starts to dissolve, replaced by a shared sense of unity. No longer are the villagers suspicious of the bread, for it is now pure again, and the heaviness that had once burdened their hearts has vanished. Later that evening, the villagers gather at the edge of the town square, beneath the ancient oak tree that had witnessed generations of their lives. Tonight, there will be a ceremony, not just to mark the end of the curse, but to heal the wounds that had been caused by betrayal. Miriam, the village seer, stands at the front, her gray robes flowing gently in the evening breeze. The soft glow of lanterns illuminates her face, and the villagers sit around her in a large circle. The mood is somber but hopeful. The weight of the heavy bread is still fresh in their minds, but with each passing moment they are reminded of the unity they've rediscovered. This bread, Miriam begins, her voice soft and melodic, was not just for the stomach, but for the spirit. We have fed not only our bodies but our hearts. And tonight, we shall heal both. She lifts a loaf of freshly baked bread into the air, its crust golden and light. This is not just bread. It is a symbol of our strength, our community, and the renewal of trust. Let it nourish us, mind and soul. The villagers murmur in agreement, their faces softening as they take the bread, passing it around the circle. Each person takes a slice, and the scent of fresh bread fills the air, mingling with the soft scent of the earth beneath their feet. As they eat, the unity that had once been shattered begins to return in full. Anya, standing by Herman, looks around at the faces of the villagers. Faces once clouded by suspicion, now filled with a renewed sense of hope. The bread, light once more, is a reminder that not all things are lost, and even the heaviest burdens can be lifted with time, honesty, and a little help from each other. As the evening grows deeper, the soft laughter of children can be heard in the distance, and the faint sound of a lute being played fills the air. The village is healing, piece by piece, slice by slice. The soft glow of dawn once again spills over the rooftops, and the village stirs gently to life. The morning is filled with the quiet clatter of carts, the chirping of sparrows, and the comforting crackle of ovens being stoked. But today is no ordinary day. Today, the bakers of the village are gathering at the edge of the square to take an oath. In front of Judge Agnes, under the shade of the ancient oak, stand Herman, Anya, and the other bakers, their faces thoughtful and determined. The air is filled with the warm, inviting scent of flour and yeast. Before them lies a table with loaves of bread, golden, soft, and light, a symbol of the balance they seek to preserve. Judge Agnes, her voice steady and kind, speaks to the crowd. The bread we bake is more than food. It is a bond of trust between those who bake and those who eat. We have seen how fragile that bond can be, and today we strengthen it. Each baker steps forward, placing a hand upon a loaf, and one by one, they speak. I vow to bake with honesty, with care, and with respect for the grain that feeds us. I vow to protect our bread from greed and deceit. I vow to serve the village with bread that is light in weight, but rich in spirit. As the final vow is spoken, a soft breeze rustles the leaves of the oak, as if the tree itself blesses their promise. The villagers watch in silence, their hearts lighter, their trust restored. The bread, once heavy with betrayal, now stands as a symbol of renewal. Days pass and the village prepares for a celebration, the grain festival, a tradition long forgotten, now revived to honor the end of the dark days of heavy bread. The village square is dressed in garlands of wildflowers and woven sheaves of wheat. Banners of soft linen flutter gently in the breeze, their edges frayed with age but brightened with care. The air hums with gentle music, the strum of a lute, the soft beat of a drum. The villagers gather, laughter returning to their voices as children chase each other between stalls filled with sweet rolls, honey cakes, and, of course, the light, airy bread that had once been a cause for worry but now brings only joy. At the center of the festival, Anya and Herman stand together at a long wooden table, cutting slices of bread for all who come. The golden crusts crackle gently under the blade, the soft white insides steaming in the morning air. Each slice is shared, and with every bite, the villagers taste not just bread but peace. Miriam, the seer, watches from beneath the oak tree, a faint smile upon her lips. She knows that the festival is not just about grain, it's about the village finding its way back to itself, about remembering that no curse is greater than the strength of community. As the sun climbs higher, casting warm light over the celebration, the village square fills with song, and the story of the heavy bread begins to fade into memory, a tale of lessons learned, trust restored, and bread that is once again as light as the hearts of those who bake it. As evening settles over the village, soft lanterns are lit along the edges of the square, their warm light flickering against the stone walls and wooden beams of the buildings. The grain festival winds down, but no one is in a hurry to leave. The air is filled with the scent of baked bread, sweet herbs, and wood smoke. Laughter is softer now, replaced by quiet conversation and the gentle strum of a lute. In the center of the square, beneath the old oak tree, a fire crackles, its glow casting long, dancing shadows across the faces of the villagers. Miriam, the seer, steps forward once more, holding a simple wooden cup filled with water from the village well. This, she says softly, is the water that feeds our grain, that nourishes our earth. Let it remind us that all things begin simply, and it is we who must keep them pure. She pours the water slowly at the roots of the oak, and the villagers watch in respectful silence. Around them, the soft night breeze carries the scent of grain fields far beyond the village walls. For a moment, all seems still, time itself pausing to honor the unity the village has regained. Herman, standing near the fire, feels the weight lift from his heart. The fear, the accusations, the uncertainty, all replaced by peace. He glances at Anya, who offers a small, knowing smile. Together, they have helped bring the village back from the edge. Later, as the festival finally ends and the villagers return to their homes, the square grows quiet. Only the soft crackle of the last embers remains and the gentle rustling of leaves in the night breeze. The stars overhead shine clearly, their light silvering the rooftops and the empty streets. Inside the bakery, Herman places the last loaf of the day onto the cooling shelf. The warm scent fills the small room, mingling with the faint sweetness of the night air drifting through the open window. He leans on the counter for a moment, listening to the stillness, the kind of stillness that only comes when a burden has been lifted. Across the street, Anya extinguishes the lantern outside her door and pauses to look at the sky. The village, once so tense and divided, now sleeps in peace. The bread, the grain, the very heart of their daily life restored. And so, under the watchful gaze of the stars, the village sleeps. The tale of the heavy bread becomes, at last, a memory, a lesson woven into the quiet fabric of their lives, as soft and enduring as the loaves that will rise with the dawn. The next morning dawns soft and golden, the sky streaked with pale pink and silver as the first light brushes the village rooftops. The air carries a crispness that hints at the changing season, and with it, a sense of renewal. Today, the villagers gather at the edge of the fields where the old mill, silent for many weeks, is ready to turn once more. The mill's great wooden wheel creaks gently as it begins to move, powered by the steady trickle of water from the stream that has always fed it. Roderick, the miller, stands at the door, his cap in hand, eyes lowered in humility. He had been absent during the troubles, some said out of guilt, others out of fear, but today he returns to offer what he can to help rebuild trust. Anya and Herman are among the first to approach. There is no anger in their faces, only quiet determination. "We need clean grain, milled with care," Anya says softly. "No more tampering, no more secrets. Just honest flour for honest bread." Roderick nods, his voice low but clear. "You'll have it. I've learned my lesson, as we all have. The mill will serve the village as it should." The wheel picks up speed, turning with a soft, rhythmic creak that echoes over the fields. The sound is a comfort to the villagers, steady, familiar, and true. The millstone grinds the grain slowly, carefully, and with each turn, it feels as if the village is grinding away the last remnants of the past's heavy burdens. That evening, after the mill's reopening, Herman finds himself alone in his bakery once more. The room glows gently with the light of a single lantern, its warm glow pooling on the wooden counters and worn stone floor. Outside, the village is quiet, save for the soft song of a nightbird and the whisper of wind through the trees. On the counter before him rests a fresh batch of dough rising slowly beneath a clean cloth. His hands, flour-dusted and steady, move without hurry as he shapes the loaves for the morning. There is a peace in the work, a rhythm that soothes the heart. The dough is soft beneath his palms, pliant and full of promise. He pauses to listen, the creak of the building settling, the soft tick of the cooling oven, the steady beat of his own breath. It's a quiet moment, a sacred one. The kind that reminds him why he chose this work in the first place. To feed, to nourish, to bring people together. Herman glances at the small window where the moonlight filters through and casts a pale silver glow over the loaves waiting to be baked. Tomorrow will bring new challenges as every day does. But for tonight, all is well. The bread is light, the village is at peace, and the heavy weight that once darkened their days has lifted. With a soft sigh of contentment, Herman extinguishes the lantern and lets the quiet of night fill the room, the scent of flour and yeast lingering as a gentle reminder of the day's hard-won harmony. The first light of dawn creeps gently into the village, casting soft gold across the quiet streets. The air is cool, fresh with the scent of dew and earth. In Herman's bakery, the oven glows warm and steady. The loaves, shaped carefully the night before, now emerge one by one, their crusts golden, their scent filling the morning air. Herman sets the first loaf on a wooden board and steps out into the square. He places it on a small table beneath the oak tree where the village children often play. As if drawn by the scent, a few villagers gather, early risers, faces still soft with sleep, drawn together by the promise of shared bread. Anya joins him, bringing a small pot of honey from her cupboard. Together, they break the loaf, offering pieces to those who have gathered. There are no speeches, no grand declarations. Only quiet smiles, nods of thanks, and the simple, unspoken joy of sharing food freely given. The bread is light, soft within its golden crust, and sweetened by the warmth of the morning and the memory of what the village has overcome. As they eat together, the villagers feel the last of the past weight dissolve, replaced by hope, unity, and peace. Later that day, Herman walks beyond the village, his path leading him to the fields where the grain waves gently in the breeze. The stalks, tall and golden, rustle softly as if they whisper secrets to the wind. The earth beneath his feet is firm, the soil rich and dark, a promise of many good harvests to come. He pauses at the edge of the field, watching as the breeze ripples through the grain, the movement like the rise and fall of a slow, steady breath. For a long while, he stands in silence, listening, not just to the grain but to the quiet of his own heart. He thinks of all that has passed, the heavy bread, the mistrust, the trials, and the healing. And now, standing here, he feels the weight of it all lifted as if the land itself has forgiven and welcomed the village back into harmony. Behind him, the village stirs with life. Laughter rises from the square. The clatter of carts, the bark of a dog, the cheerful call of a merchant, all the simple sounds of a community restored. Herman turns back toward home, his steps light on the path. The grain continues to whisper in the wind, a gentle reminder that every burden can be lifted and every loaf can rise again, so long as hearts remain honest and hands stay true. As the afternoon sun casts soft golden light over the village, Anya makes her way to the home of Elsbeth, the village weaver. Elsbeth's small cottage sits near the edge of the fields, its walls draped with drying herbs and the faint scent of lavender drifting through the air. Inside, the rhythmic clack of the loom fills the room like a heartbeat, steady, patient, and timeless. Anya steps inside quietly, holding a small parcel wrapped in cloth, a loaf of the morning's bread, still warm at its heart. Elsbeth looks up from her weaving, her lined face softening into a smile. "I brought this for you," Anya says, setting the parcel on the wooden table. "A token of thanks for all the threads you've woven to hold us together." Elsbeth unwraps the bread and inhales the sweet, yeasty scent. "Ah, Anya. You bakers mend us in ways no thread can. This bread, light as air, warm as the sun, it feeds more than hunger." She gestures to the loom. Like weaving, baking binds a village together, strand by strand, crumb by crumb. Together they sit, sharing the bread in the quiet of the cottage. Outside, the breeze stirs the drying herbs, and for a while, nothing more is needed, just shared bread, soft conversation, and the gentle clatter of the loom weaving its endless tale. That evening, as dusk paints the sky in shades of rose and gold, the villagers gather once more at the edge of the fields. There, beneath the great oak tree, a small group of musicians begins to play, a soft, lilting melody carried on flute and lute, their notes blending with the sigh of the wind through the grain. The villagers sit together on blankets spread across the grass, their faces lit by the last glow of the sun and the first spark of lanterns being lit one by one. The mood is light, contented. The bread sliced, shared, and savored has become a symbol of their renewal. Children weave flower crowns from wild daisies and clover, placing them on each other's heads. Elders lean on walking sticks, watching with smiles that speak of relief and peace. The bakers, now seated side by side, listen as a soft song rises, a song about grain and earth, about bread and hands, about a village that found its way back from shadows. The night deepens, stars begin to prick the sky, and the music continues, a gentle, endless hymn to the fields that feed them and the bread that binds them. As night fully settles over the village, the square glows softly with the gentle light of lanterns. Each family holds one, their small flames flickering within glass or paper shields, casting warm circles of light on the cobbled streets. The lantern walk is an old tradition, long forgotten during the days of unrest, but tonight it returns revived as a symbol of the light they've found after darkness. Herman and Anya walk side by side at the front of the procession, their lanterns swinging gently in their hands. The children follow, their faces glowing with excitement and wonder, whispering to one another as they watch the lights bob and sway in the soft breeze. The procession wends its way slowly through the village, past the bakery, the mill, the weaver's cottage, and down to the edge of the fields. The grain waves gently in the night air, its rustling sound like the softest of songs, blending with the quiet murmur of the villagers' voices. As they walk, no one speaks loudly. The lantern walk is a time for reflection, for remembering the troubles they have passed through and the peace they have rebuilt, one loaf, one grain, one heart at a time. At the end of the lantern walk, the villagers gather around a low, weathered stone at the far edge of the grain fields. It is known as the Keeper's Stone, set in old tales to mark the spot where the village's first bakers offered their thanks to the earth. For generations it had been left untended, nearly forgotten, but tonight it stands at the heart of their quiet ceremony. Miriam, the seer, steps forward. In her hands she holds a small loaf of bread, simple, unadorned, baked with the first of the new grain. She kneels by the stone, setting the loaf gently upon it, and speaks in a voice just loud enough to carry through the still night. We offer this bread in thanks to the earth, the rain, the grain, and the hands that brought it forth. May our hearts stay as light as our loaves and our village as strong as our bonds. The villagers bow their heads, the lanterns casting a warm circle of light around the Keeper's Stone. The breeze picks up slightly, carrying the scent of the fresh bread into the night. And for a moment, all is perfectly still, just the soft glow of the lanterns, the whisper of the grain, and the deep peace of a village at rest with itself. After the Keeper's Stone ceremony, the villagers begin their slow walk back through the fields, their lanterns glowing gently like fireflies scattered across the dark landscape. The air is cool now, touched with the scent of earth and grain. The path is soft beneath their feet, the night so quiet that the faint crunch of gravel and the rustle of clothes can be heard as they move together, unhurried. Herman walks beside Anya, their lanterns swinging low. The weight of the past weeks, the worry, the trials, the fear seems to fall away with each step. The night embraces them gently, as if the village itself breathes easier now. They pass by the mill where the great wheel is still resting in the starlight. They pass the bakery where the scent of bread lingers faintly, mingling with the night air. And as they reach their homes, one by one, the villagers extinguish their lanterns, leaving only the soft silver glow of moonlight to guide the rest of the night. That night, in the quiet warmth of his bakery, Herman lies in his small room above the ovens, listening to the faint creak of the beams and the soft sigh of the wind outside. The scent of flour and yeast lingers in the air, a familiar comfort. His hands, resting on the blanket, still feel the memory of shaping dough, of slicing soft loaves, of sharing bread freely given. As sleep drifts over him, he dreams. Not of heavy bread or village strife, but of golden fields swaying under a summer sun. He walks through them barefoot, the grain brushing his hands. In the dream, the sky is wide and clear, and the air is filled with the scent of warm earth and ripening wheat. The fields hum softly, as if singing a lullaby older than memory. In the distance, he sees the village, small and safe, smoke rising gently from chimneys. The old oak tree stands at its heart, its branches sheltering all below. And he knows, here in this place, in this peace, they will bake and share and heal for many years to come. The first soft light of dawn spills over the rooftops as the village slowly awakens. The air is cool and fresh, touched with the scent of dew-covered earth and wood smoke from hearths being kindled. In the square, the market stalls begin to open, their simple awnings fluttering gently in the breeze. Herman and Anya arrive early, each carrying baskets filled with warm, golden loaves. Their bread, baked with flour milled from the renewed grain, draws villagers in with its comforting scent. The loaves are light, their crusts crisp, their insides soft as clouds. The square fills with soft conversation as villagers greet one another, share news, and select their bread with quiet gratitude. There is no rush, no clamor, just the slow, peaceful rhythm of a market at ease. A few children linger near Herman's stall, watching wide-eyed as he slices samples to share, their faces lighting up at the first taste of warm bread sweetened with a drizzle of honey. And as the morning sun climbs higher, the market hums gently, a reminder that life, like bread, rises best when given care and time. Later that afternoon, Herman returns to his bakery, the market baskets empty and his heart full. The quiet of the shop wraps around him like a familiar cloak. He steps behind the counter and retrieves the old recipe book, the one that had once been tampered with, now cleaned of its false notes and restored to its original wisdom. He runs his flour-dusted fingers over the pages, pausing at the familiar recipe, simple, honest, unchanged from the days of his grandfather's hands. The measurements are clear, the instructions plain. There are no secrets, no hidden tricks, only the truth of grain, water, salt, and care. For a moment, Herman simply stands there, listening to the faint crackle of the cooling oven, the soft rustle of the wind through the open window. Then he smiles, sets the book down gently, and begins to prepare dough for the next day's bread. As the sun begins its slow descent, casting long golden rays over the village, Roderick the miller makes his way to Herman's bakery. His steps are slow, thoughtful, as if weighed by all that has passed. In his hands he carries a small sack of the finest flour, ground with care that morning, his way of making amends. Herman hears the soft knock at the bakery door and opens it to find Roderick standing there, hat in hand, eyes lowered. "I've come to offer this," Roderick says quietly, holding out the flour. "It's honest grain, milled with my own hands. No trickery, no shortcuts. Just the best I can give." Herman looks at the sack, then at Roderick's face. There is no anger left in him, only understanding. "Come inside," he says softly. "Let's bake something good together." Inside, the warm glow of the oven fills the room. Together, the baker and the miller knead dough in companionable silence, the simple act of working side by side, a sign that old wounds can heal and trust can be rebuilt, one loaf at a time. That evening, as the last light of the day fades and the sky turns soft with pink and lavender hues, Herman and Roderick step outside with a single, perfect loaf of bread between them. The crust is golden and crisp, the scent rich and warm, a symbol of their newfound peace. They carry it to the oak tree where the villagers often gather, and there they sit, breaking the bread and offering it to any who pass. One by one, neighbors stop, accepting a piece, offering a smile or a quiet word of thanks. The bread is light, as it should be, and each bite carries with it the promise of better days. Children chase each other through the square, their laughter mingling with the soft rustle of leaves. The village, once weighed down by suspicion and sorrow, now breathes easy again. The bread, simple and true, has done what it was always meant to do, bring people together. And as the stars begin to prick the sky, the last crumbs of the loaf are shared, leaving behind only full hearts and the quiet contentment of a village at peace. The next morning dawns gentle and bright, a soft breeze stirring the fresh scents of the village. After the busy days of baking and healing, Herman takes time to tend his small garden behind the bakery, a quiet patch of green where herbs grow between stone borders and wildflowers nod in the sun. The soil is cool beneath his hands as he works, pulling weeds and smoothing the earth around the thyme and rosemary. Bees hum lazily among the blossoms, and a small robin hops nearby, watching his work with bright eyes. The garden, like the bread, reminds Herman that care and patience bring the sweetest rewards. Anya arrives with a small basket of seeds. Together, they plant a new row of herbs, basil, sage, a bit of lavender for fragrance. As they work, they speak little, content in the shared task and the peaceful morning. When they finish, they sit on the low stone wall, watching the breeze ripple through the leaves. The garden, like the village, feels whole again, nurtured, renewed, and full of quiet promise. Later that day, the villagers gather at the edge of the fields where the golden grain sways in the afternoon light. It is time for a blessing, an old custom, long forgotten, now revived to honor the harvest and the harmony they've restored. Miriam, the seer, leads them. She carries a small bowl of water from the village well, and as she walks through the field, she sprinkles it lightly over the grain. Her voice is low, almost a whisper, but the villagers listen closely. May this grain grow true and strong. May it feed us with honesty and kindness. May our hands stay clean, our hearts stay light, and our bread be shared in peace. The villagers stand in silence, the breeze lifting her words and carrying them across the fields. The sunlight glints off the grain, and for a moment it seems as if the earth itself answers, the stalks bending gently in reply. When the blessing is done, the villagers return to their homes, leaving the field to its quiet work. And as evening falls, the grain stands tall under the soft glow of the setting sun, a promise of many good harvests yet to come. That evening, as the sky fades to deep blue and the first stars appear, Herman returns to his bakery, the quiet of night settling gently over the village. The oven, still warm from the day's work, glows softly in the corner, filling the room with a gentle heat that chases away the cool night air. Herman moves slowly, with no rush. He prepares a small batch of dough, not for sale, not for the market, but for the simple joy of baking. His hands, steady and sure, knead the soft mixture, the familiar feel of flour and water bringing him comfort. The room is peaceful. the only sounds the soft crackle of the oven and the quiet night beyond the window. As the dough rises, Herman leans against the counter, watching the shadows flicker on the walls, feeling the warmth seep into his bones. Outside, the village rests. Inside, the bread rises, a silent promise that morning will come, and with it, another day of peace, work, and sharing. As night deepens, the village lies under a blanket of stars. Soft light glows in a few windows where candles still burn low, but most homes are dark and still. The square, so recently filled with chatter and music, is now empty, the oak tree's branches swaying gently in the breeze. The grain fields whisper quietly in the night, their golden stalks rustling as if singing the village to sleep. The mill will stand silent, the bakery's shutters closed, the oven's warmth fading slowly into the night air. In their homes, the villagers dream of fields full of grain, of bread warm from the oven, of hands working together and hearts at peace. The troubles of the past feel distant now, like shadows at the edge of memory. And through it all, the village sleeps, held in the quiet embrace of the night, the promise of tomorrow resting lightly on the cool air. With the first soft blush of dawn, the village bell rings out gently across the rooftops, its tone low and steady. It is not an alarm nor a summons, just a daily greeting, a tradition as old as the village itself. The sound drifts through open windows, mingling with the sweet scent of dew on the fields and the faint aroma of wood smoke as hearths are lit. Herman rises early, as he always does, stretching his arms and breathing in the morning's cool, clean air. The bakery is quiet except for the faint crackle of the oven being rekindled. He moves through the familiar motions, checking the flour, preparing the water, dusting the counters, all with the ease of one who has done it 1,000 times before. Outside, the village stirs slowly. Doors open, voices murmur soft good mornings, and the promise of a peaceful day begins to unfold beneath the gentle light of the rising sun. As the oven's warmth fills the bakery, Herman shapes the first loaf of the day with care. His hands move steadily, smoothing the dough, folding it just so, setting it to rise as the soft glow of the morning deepens. There is no rush, only the quiet rhythm of the work, the joy of the craft. Soon, the loaf is ready for the oven. As it bakes, the bakery fills with that familiar, comforting scent, the scent of bread that nourishes not just the body but the spirit of the village. Outside, a few early risers pause by the door, drawn by the aroma, sharing smiles and quiet words with one another. When the bread emerges, its crust is golden, its shape perfect in its simplicity. Herman places it on the windowsill to cool, where the first rays of sunlight catch it, making the loaf seem to glow with the warmth of the new day. And so, with the first loaf shared, another peaceful day begins, one built, as always, on honest work, shared food, and the gentle bonds of community. Later that morning, the soft clatter of small footsteps reaches the bakery door. A group of village children, cheeks rosy from the cool air, gathers at the entrance, peering in with eager eyes. Their faces light up at the sight of the fresh loaves cooling on the windowsill, the golden crusts glowing in the warm sunlight. Herman smiles and waves them inside. The children enter quietly, their voices no more than soft giggles and whispers, as if they know they are stepping into a place of quiet magic. He breaks a loaf and offers them pieces, small, warm, perfect in their simplicity. The children sit cross-legged on the bakery floor, savoring the bread, the sweetness of honey lingering on their tongues. As they eat, Herman tells them gentle stories of the old mill, the grain fields, and the oak tree that has watched over the village for generations. The children listen, their eyes wide, crumbs clinging to their fingers, the moment soft as the bread they share. That afternoon, as the sun begins its slow descent, casting soft golden light across the village square, Elsbeth the weaver arrives at the bakery. In her hands she carries a small bundle wrapped in linen, woven cloth of the finest, softest thread, dyed the color of ripening wheat. "I made this for you," she says quietly, placing it in Herman's hands. "A cloth for your bread, a gift of thanks for what you've given us." Herman unfolds the cloth, feeling its softness beneath his fingers. The weave is tight and strong, the color warm and true. He nods, touched by the gesture. "It's beautiful, Elsbeth. I'll use it for the best of my loaves." They share a quiet moment, standing together in the doorway as the day fades into evening. The cloth, the bread, the simple kindness between neighbors, it's these small things, they know, that keep the village strong. And as Elsbeth walks away, the breeze lifts the edge of the new cloth, and for a moment, it glows in the soft light like a promise of all the good yet to come. As the sun slips behind the distant hills, casting the village in soft shades of rose and lavender, the square fills with the quiet hum of neighbors gathering for a shared meal. Long wooden tables are set beneath the oak tree, simple cloths laid across them, and lanterns hung from the branches, their warm light flickering like stars fallen to earth. Herman arrives carrying baskets of fresh bread, each loaf wrapped in Elsbeth's woven cloth. The villagers greet him with soft words and smiles, helping to set the loaves along the tables. Bowls of fresh butter, honey, and jam are passed from hand to hand. The meal is simple, just bread, cheese, fruits from the orchard, but to those gathered it is a feast. As they eat, no one speaks loudly. The evening air is filled with the soft murmur of voices, the quiet clink of cups, and the gentle laughter of children chasing each other at the edge of the square. The bread, shared freely, brings comfort and connection as it always has. When the last of the bread is eaten and the lanterns burn low, the villagers linger beneath the oak, unwilling to break the spell of the peaceful night. The breeze stirs the leaves and they rustle like a song, soft and soothing. It is a sound older than the village itself, a lullaby carried on the night wind, reminding them of the land's steady, gentle presence. Herman stands quietly, his hands resting on the back of a chair, listening. The bread, the fields, the people, they all feel part of the song, this rhythm of life that asks for nothing but care, honesty, and gratitude. One by one, the villagers bid goodnight, their voices low and warm. The square empties, the lanterns are extinguished, and the village falls into the soft embrace of sleep. And as Herman closes the bakery door for the night, the wind carries on, singing its quiet hymn over the rooftops, through the grain fields, and into the hearts of all who rest beneath its gentle watch. Before the first light touches the village rooftops, Herman steps quietly from his bakery, the cool pre-dawn air wrapping around him like an old friend. The world is hushed, the sky deep blue with a hint of silver at the edges. His boots crunch softly on the cobblestones as he walks through the empty square, past the oak tree that stands like a silent guardian. He makes his way to the grain fields where the stalks stand tall and still in the early light. A soft breeze stirs the heads of wheat, and they whisper together, a language only the land understands. Herman breathes in deeply, the scent of earth, grain, and the promise of a new day. For a long while he simply stands, hands in his pockets, listening to the quiet. There is no rush, no task pressing, just a baker and his fields, bound by the simple, steady work that feeds a village. As morning breaks and pale gold spills across the hills, the old mill's will begins to turn, creaking gently as it draws power from the stream's steady flow. The sound is soft, familiar, comforting in its rhythm. Roderick, the miller, leans against the doorway, arms folded, watching the wheel with quiet satisfaction. Today's grain is good, clean, honest, milled with care. The sacks line the mill's walls, ready to be carried to the bakery. The air is filled with the soft, sweet scent of fresh flour, mingling with the damp, earthy smell of the stream. Herman arrives with his cart and the two men greet each other with simple nods, no words needed. Together, they load the sacks in easy silence, the work as natural as the turning of the wheel. And as Herman heads back toward the village, the mill turns on, steady as the morning, a quiet promise that all will remain well so long as hands and hearts stay true. By mid-morning, Herman is back in his bakery, the sacks of fresh flour stacked neatly near the oven. The room is warm, filled with the comforting scent of rising dough and wood smoke. As the first loaf of the day bakes, the crust crackles softly in the heat, golden and crisp. When it is done, Herman sets the loaf on a wooden board, its surface steaming gently in the cool morning air that drifts through the open window. He slices off the end piece, the first crust, and sets it aside. This, he knows, is always the sweetest bite, the one that tells him the bread is good. As the door creaks open, Anya steps inside, brushing flour from her hands. Without a word, Herman offers her the slice, and she accepts it with a smile. They share the bread in companionable silence, standing by the window as the village goes quietly about its day. Simple, warm, and honest, this is bread as it should be. And in that small moment all feels right. That afternoon, as sunlight filters softly through the bakery's windows, a gentle knock sounds at the door. A traveler, weary from the road, stands at the threshold. His boots are dusty, his cloak faded from long days beneath the sun. But his eyes are kind, and his voice soft as he speaks. "I've heard of your bread," he says, smiling faintly. "Might I buy a loaf to carry on my way?" Herman nods, wrapping a fresh loaf in cloth woven by Elsbeth's careful hands. "Take this, no coin needed," he replies. "May it lighten your journey." The traveler accepts the bread with gratitude, tucking it safely into his pack. He pauses a moment, breathing in the warm scent of the bakery before stepping back onto the quiet road that winds out of the village. And as he goes, the soft clink of his staff on the stones fades into the hush of the afternoon, leaving behind the simple memory of kindness shared between stranger and friend. As evening approaches, clouds gather softly over the village, their edges painted in silver by the fading light. A hush settles over the fields, the air thick with the scent of earth waiting for rain. And then it comes, a gentle patter at first, then a steady rhythm, the drops falling soft and even across rooftops and cobblestones over the grain and gardens alike. Herman stands at his bakery door, watching the rain wash the square clean. The oak tree bends slightly under the weight of the water, its leaves shimmering. The bakery's shutters creak softly in the breeze, and the cool air carries the sweet, fresh scent of rain-soaked soil. He steps outside for a moment, letting the drops cool his face, listening to the quiet song of the storm. The rain feels like a blessing, gentle, necessary, as steady and honest as the bread rising in his ovens. When the rain eases, leaving the village glistening in the soft light of early dusk, Herman takes a fresh, warm loaf and walks slowly to the edge of the fields. The ground is damp beneath his boots, the air cool and sweet. He reaches the keeper's stone, the ancient marker where, long ago, the village's first bakers offered thanks for their harvest. He sets the loaf gently on the stone, the steam rising from it mingling with the mist left by the rain. The fields around him whisper with the breeze, the grain swaying softly as if nodding in approval. No words are needed. The offering is simple, heartfelt, a quiet promise to honor the land, the grain, and the honest work that sustains them all. Herman lingers a while, watching the sky clear, stars beginning to pierce the soft veil of clouds. Then he turns for home, leaving the loaf as a gift to the night and the earth that feeds them. As the village sleeps beneath a sky dusted with stars, the gentle hum of the mill continues through the night. The water wheel turns slowly in the moonlight, its creak soft and steady like an old song the land remembers. The stream's voice mingles with it, the soft rush of water over stones carrying the promise of life through the dark. Inside the mill, sacks of grain rest neatly against the walls, the air filled with the faint, sweet scent of flour. Roderick, the miller, stands for a moment at the doorway, watching the water wheel turn. The troubles of the past feel distant now, like ripples fading across the stream. He breathes in the cool night air, then quietly returns to his work, tending the grain with care, knowing that each sack carried to Herman's bakery will help feed the village with honest bread and peaceful hearts. In the deep quiet of the night, long after the village has fallen still, a single lantern glows in the window of Herman's bakery. The soft light spills onto the cobblestones, a small beacon of warmth in the cool darkness. Inside, Herman moves quietly, checking on dough left to rise, brushing flour from his hands, tidying the counters. The work is done not out of necessity but out of love, a final gesture of care at the close of another day. The scent of bread lingers in the air, mingling with the faint wood smoke from the cooling oven. He pauses at the window, looking out at the silent square, the oak tree, the starry sky beyond. The lantern flickers gently, its glow reflected in his tired but contented eyes. Then, with a quiet breath, he snuffs the flame, and the bakery is once again wrapped in the soft embrace of night. The first pale light of dawn touches the rooftops of the village, casting long, soft shadows across the empty square. A light mist clings to the ground, curling around the roots of the great oak and the edges of the stone well. Birds begin to stir, their quiet songs weaving through the morning air. Inside the bakery, Herman stirs too. The soft creak of floorboards, the quiet crackle of the oven being lit once more, these are the sounds of a day beginning, familiar and comforting. He opens the shutters, letting the cool air and golden light fill the room. The scent of flour and yeast mingles with the morning breeze, and the world feels fresh, as if renewed by the simple rising of the sun. Later that morning, after the first batch of loaves has cooled, Herman carries a basket to the village well. The well has long been a gathering place, a spot where stories are shared as easily as water. Today, he leaves 3 loaves on the stone ledge, wrapped in soft cloth and tied with twine. Villagers pass by, offering nods and quiet thanks as they take what they need. A mother with her child, an elder leaning on a cane, a young couple with hopeful eyes, they all share in the gift and in the unspoken promise that the bread will always be here, light and true as long as they care for one another. The well's rope creaks softly as a bucket is drawn, the water cool and clear. Above it all, the oak tree stands watch, its leaves whispering in the breeze as if blessing the simple exchange. And so the morning passes, gentle and good, the bread shared, the well's water drawn, the village at peace. As the sun climbs higher, warming the village with soft golden light, Elsbeth the weaver sits by her open window. The breeze carries with it the sweet scent of bread and the faint melody of a lute played somewhere in the square. She works her loom with patient hands, the gentle clatter of wood and thread blending with the peaceful sounds of the morning. From her window, she watches Herman pass with his basket, offering loaves to those in need. She smiles softly, the threads she weaves as steady and true as the baker's bread. Each strand she places seems to echo the village's quiet promise. To care, to share, to mend what has been frayed. The cloth grows beneath her fingers, the color of ripened grain, and with every pass of the shuttle, she feels the peace of the day settling deeper into the village's heart. That afternoon, Herman takes a slow walk along the edge of the grain fields. The stalks sway gently in the breeze, their rustling sound soft as a sigh. The land feels alive, full of quiet strength. He pauses to run his hand lightly over the tops of the wheat, feeling the warmth of the sun in the grain and the coolness of the breeze threading between. The fields whisper to him, not in words but in the language of earth and sky, the promise of harvest, the gift of life, the steady rhythm of the seasons. For a moment, Herman closes his eyes and simply listens, letting the peace of the place fill him. When he opens them, he looks out over the golden waves of grain, the village nestled beyond, smoke rising gently from chimneys, the oak standing tall. And he feels, as he always does, that all is as it should be. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the village in warm tones of amber and rose, Herman returns to his bakery. The small room glows with the soft light of the setting sun streaming through the window, casting golden patterns on the worn wooden floor. He sets about preparing his table for the next morning's work, wiping the flour-dusted surface with a cloth woven by Elsbeth, the threads soft from many washings. Each tool is placed just so, his bowls, his wooden spoon, his scale, and the old recipe book that has guided his hands through so many seasons. There is a quiet joy in the ritual, a comfort in knowing that when morning comes, he will shape the dough once again, and with it, the hope and strength of the village. The room is still, filled with the gentle scent of bread and wood smoke and the fading warmth of the day. Outside, the square is peaceful, lanterns just beginning to flicker to life as night approaches. That evening, as twilight deepens into night, a small night market springs to life in the square. Stalls are lit with simple lanterns, their glow soft and welcoming. Villagers wander between them, speaking in hushed tones, sharing smiles and quiet laughter. The air hums with gentle music, the pluck of a lute, the soft beat of a hand drum. Herman sets out loaves on his small table beneath the oak, each wrapped with care. His bread is not the centerpiece tonight, but a quiet offering among the cheeses, the honey, the hand-woven cloth, and the pots of herbs. People stop, break off pieces, and move on, the taste of warm bread mingling with the sweetness of the night air. The market is not loud or grand. It is simple, slow, and kind, a reflection of the village itself. And as the stars begin to scatter across the dark sky, the night hums softly with peace, the square aglow with gentle light and shared goodwill. As the night market begins to slow and the lanterns burn lower, Herman notices an elder at the edge of the square, old Tomas, who seldom comes to the gatherings anymore. His steps are slow, his shoulders bent, but his eyes are bright as he watches the peaceful scene before him. Without a word, Herman wraps a small loaf in Elsbeth's cloth and walks it over, placing it gently in Tomas's hands. The old man looks up, surprised at first, then smiles, a soft, grateful smile that needs no words. He nods, and together they stand for a moment, listening to the soft music, watching the last of the villagers drift home. The loaf is simple, but in its warmth, its lightness, and its honesty, it says everything that needs saying. You are remembered. You are part of this. Later, as the market fades and the square empties, the stars bloom bright over the village. The air is cool and still, the night deep and kind. From his window, Roderick the miller watches the sky, the great wheel of the mill silent in the dark. The grain rests for now, safe in its sacks, waiting for morning. The soft rush of the stream and the distant hum of the breeze through the grain are the only sounds. Roderick breathes in the peace of the moment, his heart quiet. The troubles of the past feel like shadows now, faded and far. Above, the stars wheel slowly on, their light silvering the rooftops, the fields, the mill. And beneath them, the village sleeps, wrapped in the gentle promise of the night, that the land will endure, the grain will grow, and the bread will rise again, as it always has. The dawn comes quietly, soft and silver, spilling light over the hills and into the village. A thin mist clings to the fields, curling between the stalks of grain, and the rooftops glisten with dew. The air is cool and sweet, filled with the scent of wet earth and wood smoke beginning to rise from hearths. Herman steps out of his bakery, breathing in the peace of the early hour. The square is empty, save for the gentle sway of the oak's branches and the soft chatter of sparrows welcoming the day. He carries a fresh loaf in his hands, still warm from the oven, and sets it on the sill to cool, where the breeze can carry its scent through the waking village. The light grows stronger, the mist begins to lift, and the first quiet footsteps of neighbors echo softly on the cobblestones as the village stirs to life. By mid-morning, the mill is awake again, its great wheel turning slowly in the steady flow of the stream. The soft creak of wood, the gentle hum of the millstone grinding grain, it is like a song, familiar and soothing, a melody of work and care that the village has always known. Roderick tends the grain with patient hands, watching as the flour falls like soft snow into waiting sacks. The air is filled with the clean scent of fresh flour and the cool, damp smell of the stream. Sunlight dances on the water's surface, sending ripples of light onto the walls of the mill. Each turn of the stone, each sack filled, feels like a quiet promise kept to the land, to the bakers, to the village that depends on these simple, honest labors. And as the wheel turns, steady and sure, the day unfolds in peace. As the sun begins to dip toward afternoon, casting warm, golden light over the village, Herman takes a simple loaf, a round, soft bread with a crisp crust, and walks to the oak tree at the heart of the square. The tree's broad branches offer shade, and the breeze stirs its leaves with a quiet, familiar song. Herman sets the loaf at the base of the tree, a small offering to the place that has watched over the village through many seasons. A few villagers pass by, offering gentle nods, understanding without words the meaning of the gesture. The bread is for all and for none, a gift to the land, a symbol of thanks, a reminder of the bond between hands, grain, and home. The oak's leaves rustle in the breeze, and for a moment it feels as if the tree itself accepts the gift, standing watch as it always has. As the day fades and the light softens, the village settles into the quiet rhythm of evening. Smoke curls gently from chimneys, the scent of stew and fresh bread mingling with the cool air. The square empties, save for the soft footfalls of neighbors bidding good night, lanterns glowing softly as windows are shuttered. In the bakery, Herman tidies his work, sweeping flour from the worn floorboards, brushing crumbs from the table. The oven cools, its warmth lingering in the stones. He pauses at the door, looking out at the square, now bathed in the soft blue of twilight. All is still. The oak stands silent, the loaf at its base untouched but not forgotten. And as the stars begin to appear, one by one, the village slips into peace once more. Another day's work done, another day's bread shared, another night's rest earned. Night deepens over the village, and the world is wrapped in silver and shadow. The soft murmur of the stream winds through the stillness, its song weaving between the mill and the grain fields, past the oak and the quiet square. The water glimmers beneath the moonlight, a ribbon of light in the darkness, its voice gentle and steady. Roderick stands at the mill's doorway for a moment, listening to the stream's lullaby. The wheel, now at rest, glistens with dew. The air smells of wetwood and cool stone, and the breeze carries the scent of grain waiting in the storeroom. He closes the door quietly, leaving the night to its peace, the stream's song fading softly as he retreats into the warmth of home. In the bakery, only a single candle flickers now, its small flame casting long, soft shadows across the walls. Herman finishes his nightly tasks, wiping down the counter, folding cloths, placing the last loaves of the day beneath linen covers to keep them warm until morning. He pauses before snuffing the candle, looking around the small, familiar room. The scent of bread still lingers, mingled with wood smoke and the faint sweetness of flour. The oven stones, though cooling, still hold the day's warmth. Outside, the village lies still beneath a sky filled with stars. Herman takes a deep breath, content in the quiet of the hour, and with a gentle motion he cups the candle's flame between his fingers, letting the room fall into the soft embrace of night. The first light of a new day slips quietly over the horizon, painting the fields in soft silver and gold. A thin mist blankets the grain, curling around each stalk like a tender cloak. The air is cool and still, touched with the fresh scent of earth and dew. Herman walks the path along the fields, his boots leaving gentle prints in the damp grass. The village lies hushed behind him, its rooftops just catching the pale light of dawn. The fields whisper beneath the breeze, the grain swaying slowly as if waking from its own peaceful slumber. He pauses, hands in his pockets, listening to the soft music of the morning. A bird's song, the distant trickle of the stream, the quiet rustle of the grain. The promise of another honest day rises with the sun, and Herman smiles, warmed by its gentle glow. Back in the bakery, the soft crackle of kindling breaking into flame fills the quiet room. Herman kneels at the hearth, feeding the oven's belly with care. The fire grows, its warmth spreading slowly, pushing back the morning's chill. The scent of wood smoke rises, mingling with the sweet smell of flour already dusting the air. Light from the small window catches the first swirl of steam as water meets heat on the oven stones. There is no rush. The morning is his to shape, like the dough soon to come beneath his hands. The oven hums gently as the fire settles into its steady rhythm, a familiar song of warmth and work that has begun so many days before and will begin so many more. Outside, the village stirs, drawn once again to the heart of the square where bread and peace are made, one loaf at a time. As the sun rises higher, washing the village in warm, golden light, the market square begins to fill. Stalls are opened, cloths are laid out, and baskets of herbs, cheese, and fruit are arranged with care. The air hums with gentle greetings, the soft shuffle of feet on stone, and the rustle of linen in the breeze. Herman arrives with his basket of fresh loaves, their crusts still warm from the oven. He sets them out beneath the oak, wrapping each in cloth woven by Elsbeth's steady hands. The bread's scent drifts through the square, mingling with the sweetness of apples and the sharp tang of herbs. Neighbors stop by, choosing loaves, sharing quiet words, offering coins or small gifts in return. There is no rush, only the slow, familiar rhythm of a village at peace, bound together by simple work and shared bread. Later, as the market quiets and the sun begins its slow descent, Herman finds a place on a bench beneath the oak. Anya joins him, a small bundle of herbs in her lap. Together they sit, watching the last of the villagers linger at the stalls, the light softening into shades of amber and rose. They share a slice of bread, torn from a loaf set aside, its crust crackling gently, its heart soft and warm. The breeze carries the scent of the fields, the hum of bees, the faint murmur of neighbors finishing their day's trade. No words are needed. The peace of the square, the comfort of the bread, and the quiet companionship between them are enough. The bench, the oak, the village, they all seem to breathe together, content beneath the soft sky. As the sun sinks lower, casting long shadows across the land, Herman takes a quiet walk along the path that winds between the grain fields. The stalks glow golden in the evening light, their heads nodding gently in the breeze as if in conversation. The path beneath his feet is worn smooth by years of such walks, by bakers, millers, and villagers who have all followed its gentle curve to the edge of the harvest. The air is filled with the scent of warm earth and ripened grain. Herman pauses, resting a hand lightly on the nearest stalks, feeling the soft tickle of their heads against his fingers. The land hums with quiet life, a soft chorus of crickets rising as the light fades. In the distance, the rooftops of the village glow in the last light of day, smoke curling from chimneys, the promise of supper waiting. And as he turns back, Herman feels the simple peace of knowing the grain is good, the bread is honest, and the village is whole. Night falls gently over the village. The sky deepens to velvet blue, and the first star appears, bright and steady above the oak tree at the heart of the square. A hush settles over the streets, the market now empty, the stalls folded away, the cobblestones bathed in silver moonlight. From the window of the bakery, a soft glow shines. Herman's lantern, its light warm and kind. Inside, he moves slowly, tidying the last of the day's work, setting dough to rise for the morning. The room is quiet except for the soft sigh of the cooling oven and the faint crackle of the last embers. Outside, the village lies still beneath the stars' watchful gaze. The oak's leaves whisper softly in the breeze, and the night carries with it the gentle promise of rest, of bread yet to come, of peace as enduring as the stone beneath their feet. In the bakery, the last of the fire's warmth fades into the cool night air. The oven stones, once bright with heat, now hold only a soft, lingering glow, enough to keep the room gentle and warm as the world outside grows still. Herman moves with care, covering the resting dough with Elsbeth's woven cloth. His hands steady, his heart quiet. The window is open a crack, and through it drifts the night song. The sigh of the breeze through the grain, the soft chorus of crickets, the distant murmur of the stream. Herman leans against the counter for a moment, listening, letting the peace of the hour fill him. He snuffs the lantern, and the room slips into shadow, the soft shapes of loaves and tools resting in the kind dark, waiting for dawn's first light to wake them. Outside, the village lies bathed in silver, the moon high and full, casting its gentle light over rooftops and fields, over the oak and the well, over the silent square. The air is cool, the stones damp with night's quiet breath. From the mill, the soft trickle of the stream carries through the stillness. The wheel stands at rest, its spokes glinting in the moonlight, the grain sacks inside safe and waiting. The grain itself whispers softly in the fields, the breeze lifting it like a slow, steady lullaby. No footsteps echo on the stones now. The village sleeps, held safe beneath the stars, the night deep and kind. And above it all, the moon keeps watch, steady and bright, as if blessing the village with its light. As the village sleeps, so does Herman, wrapped in the quiet of his small room above the bakery. The night air drifts through the open window, cool and sweet, carrying with it the soft scent of flour and wood smoke that lingers in the walls. Outside, the oak tree's leaves rustle gently, and the silver moon casts soft patterns on the floor. In his dreams, Herman walks once more along the grain fields, but this time the land stretches on forever, golden and endless beneath a sky touched with dawn. The breeze hums a gentle tune, and the grain bends low, as if greeting him. His hands brush the tops of the stalks, and the earth feels warm, welcoming, whole. There are no words in the dream, no voices calling, only the deep, quiet peace of knowing the work is honest, the bread is good, and the village rests easy. And so he sleeps on, the dream a soft comfort, the night a steady friend. Beyond the bakery, beyond the oak, the stream winds its silver path through the night. Its waters glimmer in the moonlight, soft and sure as they slip over stones, past reeds and roots, past the mill's resting wheel. The air is cool and damp, filled with the scent of moss and earth. The stream hums its ancient song, quiet but steady, a reminder that the world moves gently forward even as the village sleeps. The mill stands silent, its doors closed, its sacks of grain resting within. The wheel catches the moon's glow, a pale circle against the dark. And through it all, the stream carries on, weaving its way past field and stone, a thread of silver stitching the land together, whispering promises of tomorrow's work, tomorrow's bread, tomorrow's peace. The night softens, and the first hint of dawn touches the sky, pale and tender above the village. A breeze stirs gently, slipping between the rooftops, through the grain fields, and beneath the branches of the oak. It carries with it the cool promise of a new day, fresh and kind. Herman wakes slowly, the quiet of his room wrapping him like a soft blanket. The scent of the bakery below, faint wood smoke, flour, the memory of bread, greets him as he rises. He stands at the window for a moment, looking out at the world still bathed in silver. The square is empty, the well glistening with dew, the first bird's song sweet and low. The breeze touches his face, and he breathes it in deeply, ready to begin again. In the bakery's stillness, Herman kneels before the oven, his hands steady as he builds the morning's fire. The kindling catches with a soft crackle, the flame small at first, then growing, filling the room with gentle warmth. The stones begin to glow, pushing back the last of the night's chill. The scent of wood smoke curls upward, mingling with the flour dust air. Herman moves with ease, measuring flour, drawing water, setting out his tools. Each motion is quiet, purposeful, part of the rhythm that starts the day and keeps the village fed. Outside, the first light spills over the fields, the grain catching fire with gold. The oven hums softly, the fire alive, and the promise of fresh bread fills the dawn. As the sun's light deepens from pale silver to warm gold, the bakery fills with the comforting scent of rising dough and wood smoke. Herman shapes the first loaf of the day, his hands sure and steady, working the soft dough with care. Outside, the village begins to stir, the soft creak of doors, the murmur of greetings, the gentle thump of buckets at the well. The loaf is set into the oven, and as it bakes, the room glows with heat and light. The crust begins to color, golden and crisp, the heart of the bread swelling with warmth. Herman watches, the familiar joy rising with the loaf itself, knowing that soon, the bread will be shared, its goodness spreading through the village like the sun's gentle rays. The bell at the square rings softly, calling the morning to life, and with it, the first promise of nourishment and peace. When the loaf is done, Herman wraps it in cloth and steps out into the quiet morning air. The square is bright now, touched by the sun's glow, the oak casting soft shadows across the cobblestones. He walks to the small cottage of an elder who can no longer easily come to market, old Tomas, whose window looks out over the square. Herman leaves the loaf at the doorstep, the cloth tied with a bit of twine, and pauses a moment, listening to the breeze, the soft hum of village life beginning anew. No thanks is needed, the gift is its own reward, the bread its own blessing. He turns back toward the bakery, the door open to the warm scent within, ready to bake the next loaf, ready to welcome the day, ready to serve as always, with hands honest, heart steady, and bread as light as the morning breeze. As the sun climbs higher, casting soft gold over the square, the villagers gather beneath the oak to share a simple midday meal. A long table, weathered and sturdy, is set with plain cloths and filled with what each neighbor brings: bowls of berries, small wheels of cheese, pots of honey, and, at the center, Herman's fresh loaves, their crusts still warm and fragrant. There is no rush. The meal unfolds slowly, with quiet conversation, gentle laughter, and the easy rhythm of a village at peace. The bread is broken and passed from hand to hand, each bite a reminder of the care and work that shaped it. Children nibble at crumbs, their cheeks pink with sun, while elders sip cool water from the well. And above it all, the oak's branches sway gently, as if blessing the table, the meal, and the hearts gathered there. When the meal is done and the table cleared, the village settles into the soft quiet of afternoon. The square empties as neighbors return to their tasks, mending nets, tending gardens, weaving cloth, grinding herbs. The air hums with the gentle sounds of work, the kind that fills the day without haste or noise. In the bakery, Herman kneads the next batch of dough, the cool, smooth feel of it beneath his hands familiar and soothing. The oven hums low with its steady warmth, and the scent of flour and yeast wraps the room like a comfort. Outside, the breeze carries the sweet scent of the grain fields and the soft chatter of birds in the eaves. The afternoon drifts on, peaceful and slow, the village resting in its quiet labors, its bonds strong, its bread honest, its heart full. As the sun lowers behind the hills, casting the village in warm amber and rose, the soft toll of the evening bell drifts through the air. Its sound is low and kind, a gentle reminder that the day's work is done and rest is near. The square glows in the last light, the oak's shadow stretching long across the cobblestones. Herman steps out of the bakery, wiping flour from his hands, and breathes in the cool air. The scent of wood smoke, fresh bread, and earth fills his lungs, familiar and sweet. Around him, windows are lit one by one, lanterns flicker to life, and voices soften to the hush of evening. He watches for a moment, content. The day has been good. The bread has been shared. The village, as always, is whole. Night falls gently over the village. Stars bloom above, bright and steady, and the moon rises to bathe the fields in silver. The square lies still, the oak standing silent watch, its leaves whispering softly in the breeze. The stream hums its ancient tune, and the grain sways gently under the night's cool breath. In the bakery, the oven cools, its stones holding the last warmth of the day. The room is dark now, save for a single lantern's glow, a small, steady light in the quiet of the night. Herman stands at the window a final time, looking out over the peaceful village, the roof silvered by moonlight, the streets empty, the world at rest. With a quiet sigh, he snuffs the lantern and the bakery slips into darkness, leaving only the soft song of the night and the promise that, come dawn, the bread will rise again, honest and light, for all who call this place home. Let your breath slow as the village slows. Let your heart feel as light as the loaves, as steady as the hands that shape them. The night hums gently around you, carrying with it the soft lullaby of the stream, the whisper of the grain, and the kind promise of tomorrow's light. Close your eyes now and rest. The stars keep watch, the bread will rise again, and all is well. Sheaf of rice, the end sheaf of rice.